Should elemental primary weapons make a return to Destiny? Firstly, we need to consider how and why they were useful in Year 1. I'm sure Bungie would have noticed the rampant use of Fatebringer and Vision of Confluence throughout most PvE activities, but the mentality that players were using these weapons based primarily on their elemental properties is false. The elemental features of Fatebringer and Vision of Confluence, Arc and Solar respectively, did add to the overall value of the weapon, but were arguably not the main reasons they were being used, outside of burn modifiers that is. If we take a look at these two weapons, starting with Fatebringer, it has an element, yes, but also has the ultimate god roll of perks on a hand cannon, completely unrivaled by any other hand cannon in Year 1. The fact that you couldn't roll Firefly and Outlaw on any other hand cannon, Fatebringer ruled supreme as the strongest of its class. The Arc Charge, just a nice addition. Moving on to Vision of Confluence, not only was it the most preferred archetype of scout rifle, being the 37-48 type, but it featured Zen Moment and full auto, not to mention Field Scout, which at the time increased its mag size from 19 to 27. It was an amazing scout rifle, although again the solar damage was just a bonus. If we're talking about burn modifiers, then yes, elemental primaries are the best choice. But if we look at the two places we've seen burn modifiers, being the Nightfall and the Prison of Elders, it's pretty clear that elemental primaries have never been a problem. In the Prison of Elders, the bosses who had burn modifiers, such as Uryx the Flame Prince, have health based on the burn, meaning that even if you use the correct elemental weapon, it will still take a considerable number of shots to down the boss. Or even Skolas for the first few weeks when he was cycling different burn modifiers, his health was ramped up significantly to compensate for the extra damage. The week 1 Yellowhorn strat, where everyone shot all 7 rockets, synthed and shot 7 more, was just enough damage to kill Skolas, meaning if he had the same amount of health and there was no burn modifier, it would have taken 126 Yellowhorn rockets, or 42 times 3, as a burn at the time caused 3 times the normal damage. Still, elemental primaries were never too strong, if anything they were vital to having a fighting chance in some of those prison runs. Now onto the Nightfalls, Bungie's primary reasons for removing the elemental primaries. The argument behind their removal was that it made the Nightfall too easy, with the elemental primaries being the main cause. I find this comical, as the largest threats in these Nightfalls were the Yellow Bar Mages and the boss, both of which required sniper or heavy weapons to bring down, not primary weapons. Not to mention, if Bungie believed Nightfalls were too easy, then why did they possibly remove the Nightfall modifier? The one modifier that characterized the playlist, the one modifier that actually made Nightfall somewhat a challenge and interesting. All the Nightfalls now is a higher level heroic strike with the epic modifier. The other modifiers such as Chaff, Ironclad, Fresh Troops, Exposure, etc. are just annoying additions, not necessarily challenging additions. I find it bizarre that the argument of being too easy was claimed, and the Nightfalls were made incredibly easy by default. That's besides the point, but the unjustified removal of elemental primaries followed up by the contradictory actions of Bungie simply doesn't add up. So how do we justify the return of elemental primaries? I have several ideas that I believe are worth considering. Firstly, similar to the match game modifier occasionally seen in Nightfalls, your elemental primary weapon is twice as effective against the correct shield as it normally would be, but will only deal half the damage it normally would to the incorrect shielded enemy. That way, kinetic weapons will still be considered for some activities, as they deal a flat damage across all shields. Another idea would be plain and simple, just put the element as one of the perk slots on the weapon. Think of it as a deal bonus damage against whatever perk, similar to Disciplinarian or Will of Light, except it's bonus damage against enemies without element of shield. To finish up, I'd maintain the heavy use of the primary elemental weapons in Year 1 was due to the perks on the guns, not the elements they possessed. The removal of the Nightfall modifier contradicts Bungie's effort to make Nightfalls harder, hence why they removed elemental primaries, and with a few simple tweaks, these primary weapons could easily slot back into everyone's loadouts. Thanks for watching guys, rating and subbing is always appreciated, catch you later.